Welcome back, math people. Today we are taking a look at topic 2, block 4, and we are doing unit rates that involve fractions. Now you might remember in one of the previous lessons there was an oatmeal recipe that called for 1.5 cups of oats and 2.5 cups of water, and we were able to come up with the two separate unit rates for those. And rather than spending the time in this video doing something we've already done in a previous video, let's just put down what those unit rates are. So first of all, we know that if we have 1 cup of water, we are going to use 3/5 a cup of oats. We've already established that. And the other unit rate for that, when we reverse the rates, we used for 1 cup of oats, we used 5/3 a cup of water. And we'll be able to use this information on these next two questions. Now, this next question, and you'll want to write it down, is if you have 3 cups of oats, how many cups of water do you need? The key thing here is we want to know that we have 3 cups of oats. Now, since we know how many cups of oats we have, we know which unit rate to write down. We're going to use the one where oats is in the denominator for the 1 cup. So if we have 1 cup of oats, and remember we started with 5/3 cups of water because that's our unit rate, we want to know how much for 3 cups of oats. Well, that seems pretty simple because we can finish this proportion by multiplying 1 cup of oats times 3 to make 3 cups of oats. And that means we're going to multiply 5/3 times 3 to find out how many cups of water we need. But remember, we have to turn this whole number into a fraction since we're multiplying by a fraction. And 5 times 3 is 15, and 3 times 1 is 3. 15/3. Well, what is 15/3? Well, 15 divided by 3 is 5. So we will need 5 cups of water for 3 cups of oats. The key here was knowing which one we knew we had. We knew that we had 3 cups of oats, and so that's why we chose to use the unit rate that had 1 cup of oats. And we had that unit rate set up from a previous lesson. Now in the next one, it says if you have 2 cups of oats, again, we are given the amount of oats that we have, and we want to know how many cups of water. So we're going to set up our proportion the same way. 5/3 cup of water to 1 cup of oats, because that's what we are given. And we want to turn that into 2 cups of oats. How many cups of water will that be? Well, again, we are trying to change 1 cup to 2 cups of oats. So that means we have to multiply by 2. If we multiply by the denominator, we multiply by the numerator times 2. And since that is a fraction, we change it into 2/1, and we multiply straight across. 5 times 2 is 10. 3 times 1 is 3. So that is 10/3 cups of water. What is 10/3? Well, let's change that into something we know. It's an improper fraction. 3 will go into 10 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. That means we have 1 left over. 3 1/3 cups of water for 2 cups of oats. Now this next one asks if you have 3 cups of water, if you have 3 cups of water, how many cups of oats do you need? So remember, we are given the amount of water that we have. So that means we are going to use the unit rate that has water as 1. And we'll set that one up. We'll start it here. It is water, 1 cup of water in the bottom, and that was 3/5 cups of oats. Now, we want to turn that into 3 cups of water. And to get from 1 to 3, we multiply by 3. So then we have to multiply the numerator by 3 also. But since our numerator here is a fraction, we have to multiply by 3 over 1. We multiply straight across with our fractions. 3 times 3 is 9. 5 times 1 is 5. 9/5. So that's 9/5 cups of oats. What is that? 9/5. Let's see. 5 goes into 9 one time with 4 left over. 1 4/5 cups of oats. So that's what we need if we have 3 cups of water. All about using those unit rates. All right. Well, let's move on to the next question then. Now this one says that Brenda is making a lemon ginger punch for a picnic. Make sure you write this down. Her recipe calls for 3/4 cup of lemonade and 1/3 cup of ginger ale. Let's set up the unit rates. Now there are going to be 2 unit rates associated with this. We're going to be looking at the unit rates where we are associating lemonade to ginger ale, and we're also going to be looking at the ratio of ginger ale to lemonade. 2 different unit rates. So let's start off with lemonade to ginger ale. We have 3/4 cup of lemonade and 1/3 cup of ginger ale. We want to turn that into a unit rate where we have 1 cup of ginger ale. How do I take 1/3 and make it 1? Well, I would divide by 1/3. But remember, division is multiplying by the reciprocal. So I will multiply by the reciprocal of 1/3, which is 3 over 1. 1 times 3 is 3. 3 times 1 is 3. 3/3 would be 1. Now, if I do that down there, I also have to do the same thing in the numerator. And now I multiply straight across. 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 1 is 4. So I use 9/4 of lemonade. So that's our unit rate. Let me rewrite this. 9/4 cups of lemonade to 1 cup of ginger ale. Okay, now let's switch that around. Now we're going to be comparing ginger ale to lemonade. Again, we set it up. How much ginger ale? Well, it's 1/3 cup of ginger ale to 3/4 cup lemonade. And we're going to find out how much for 1 cup of lemonade. How do I take 3/4 and turn it into 1? I'm going to divide by 3/4, or better yet, I am going to multiply by the reciprocal, 4/3. And I do the same thing up top, 4/3. And now I multiply straight across. 1 times 4 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. So 4/9 of a cup of ginger ale to 1 cup of lemonade. Let me write that. 4/9 cup of ginger ale for every 1 cup of lemonade. All right, well, now that I have my unit rates, I can answer these questions. If Brenda has 8 cups of lemonade, how much ginger ale does she need to make the punch? Well, again, it's saying that we have 8 cups of lemonade. It's giving us the lemonade amount. So I'm going to use my lemonade unit rate, which says I have 4/9 cup of ginger ale for every 1 cup of lemonade. And I'm going to change that to where I have 8 cups of lemonade. So now how do I take 1 and make it 8? Well, I multiply 1 times 8, and I do the same thing up top, 8. But it's got to be a fraction because I'm looking at a fraction. 4 times 8 is 32. 9 times 1 is 9. 32/9. Okay, well, that's all well and good. But let's change this, and that's ginger ale. Let's change 32/9. How many times will 9 go into 32? That would be 3 times. And I will have, let's see, that's 27, so I will have 5/9 left over. So I need 5/9 cups of ginger ale if I am using 8 cups of lemonade. Okay. Now let's look at this next one, where it says, if Brenda has 8 cups of ginger ale, how many cups of lemonade does she need? Well, we are being given that there are 8 cups of ginger ale. We know the amount of ginger ale, so we're going to use the ginger ale unit rate. So, I know that for every 1 cup of ginger ale, I'm going to use 9/4 cups of lemonade. So, I want 8 cups of ginger ale. How do I change this? Well, 1 multiplied by 8 equals 8 cups of ginger ale. 9/4 cups of lemonade times 8. 8 over 1, because it's a fraction. That equals, let's see, 9 times 8 is 72. 4 times 1 is 4. 72/4. How many times will 4 go into 72? My calculator says 18 times. So I need 18 lemonades for 8 grams. So I will need 18 cups of lemonade. Now, we take one more look at a different kind of problem where we have Kevin, who is walking. Kevin can walk 2/3 of a mile in 2/5 of an hour. Our next question says, how far can he walk in 1 hour? Well, that's a unit rate question for 1 hour. So let's set up our proportion. All right. We know that he can walk 2/3 of a mile in 2/5 of an hour. We want to know how far can he walk in 1 hour. 1 hour. How do I take 2/5 of an hour and make it 1 hour? Well, I divide by 2/5, but that means I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal, which is 5/2. 2/5 times 5/2 is 1. What is 2/3 times 5/2? Because I have to do the same thing up above. Well, 2 times 5 is 10. 3 times 2 is 6. 10/6 of a mile. How far is that? Well, let's see. 10/6. Well, that can be simplified by dividing each of those by 2. That's 5/3 of a mile. But how much is that? 3 goes into 5 one time, and I have 2 left over. 2/3. 1 2/3 of a mile in 1 hour. Unit rates. How long will it take him to walk 1 mile? Well, then we set up a different unit rate. We want to find out for 1 mile. So I'm going to put my mile down in the bottom. And I know that he can walk 2/3 of a mile in 2/5 of an hour. There we go. 2/5 of an hour to walk 2/3 of a mile. Make sure that you write this down. Anyway, I want to know how far to walk 1 mile. How long will it take to walk 1 mile? Well, to get from 2/3 to 1, I'm going to multiply by 3/2. 2/3 times 3/2 equals 1. What is 2/5 times 3/2? 2 times 3 is 6. 5 times 2 is 10. That is 3/5. So we're looking at 3/5 of an hour to walk 1 mile. Now, just for funsies, what is 3/5 of an hour? Well, that would require us to set up another proportion. 3/5 of an hour equals how many minutes? Well, there are 60 minutes in an hour, right? So this is 3/5 of an hour. There are 60 minutes in an hour. How do I get from 5 to 60? Well, I have to multiply by some number. 5 times what equals 60? Well, 5 times 12 equals 60. And what is 3 times 12? 3 times 12 is 36. So 3/5 of an hour happens to be 36 minutes. All right, a little extra fun for you there. Okay, well, now you're going to go into back to your assignment, and you're going to work on topic 2, block 4, the form, to practice these skills some more. All right, well, have fun. We'll see you next time, and don't forget to be awesome.